Welcome to the Fanatical Elfz Show, part of the L Network. We are a bunch of wild and crazy Cleveland Browns fans, bringing you all the latest in Browns news. Tune in now. Hey, we are a bunch of wild and crazy Browns fans. We are the Fanatical Elfz, and thank you for joining us on this Thursday evening. It is February 22nd, and we have in the house tonight Jarrell, we have Sam, and we have Steve. Welcome aboard the train, the Browns train. Here we go. Jarrell, how's it going up there or down there in Memphis? You're above me on the, if you're watching us on YouTube, on the X. Jarrell, how you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm fantastic. Just a Thursday evening, just chopping it up with my fellow Browns, fans, media. So yeah, doing well.
Appreciate you, man. The some just great content that you provided this week with your new show, the Dog Food Show, and got some great feedback from some of your followers. So again, thank you for being part of our new group here, and we can't wait for you to continue that and lots of other things as the season gets going. We've got the NFL Combine next week. We have free agency knocking on our door. The draft is after that, and we are super excited to have you join us, Jarrell. And there we have Elliot joining us. Hello, Elliot. We're going to come to you here in a second. We want to welcome Sam. How are you, Sam, tonight down there in Arlington? You are our host that we're going to talk about your advertising water tonight, right? And the fact that it's really hot in Texas.
Yeah, it's Sam's Club water, so I wouldn't mind a sponsorship, try and save us, supply me with a lifetime supply of water. I'll probably burn through it all next summer. It's gonna get hot here in Texas. If you live here in Texas, just prepare yourself because it's gonna burn.
We were talking, Sam, before we came on, weren't we? Just about the weather and how this El Nino is shifting to a La Nino, and all of the Midwest and the northern part of the country is going to burn up this spring if you're not prepared. Jarrell and I think Steve, you just mentioned it's going to be in the 70s next week up in Nashville or Memphis or Nashville. Yeah. And you're going to be 87 there in Texas. It's going to warm up here in the Buckeye State as well. Steve, how are you tonight? You're in an undisclosed location, right?
I'm in an undisclosed location in Western North Carolina. So I'm heading back to Nashville tomorrow. Doing well.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, safe travels tomorrow on your way back.
Just getting ready to dive into backup defensive free agents. I'll have a Cleveland Browns Dog Pound South podcast probably Saturday.
Okay, excellent.
I'm finishing up just looking at, estimated contracts and that kind of stuff.
Well, we've really enjoyed all of you guys are bringing some great stuff. The dog food show and Jarrell's perspectives on things. Steve, you've been having your Dog Pound South shows and bringing a lot of content there, looking at free agencies. And then we have the Oracle Speaks, the Cleveland Oracle Speaks, the man himself, who now has his own Facebook page to follow. So check that out. I did a 10-minute rant about Chubb. We're going to talk about Nick Chubb here in a minute, but I know, Elliot, you have already talked about him as well. How are you this evening?
It's absolutely fabulous. Thank you, John.
Oh, very good.
Very nice to be here. I just love this show. It's just so cool.
Well, you've been so kind too, Elliot. I've listened to some of your shows, and you've been generous enough to say thanks to all of us. And, you're doing a hell of a job. I know, Jarrell, you're just getting started with us, but Elliot came on along with Steve here, and then Sam, and we had Joel. And I know Elliot didn't start out doing his own show, and he and Steve both have, started kind of their own programming, and it's just really cool to see everybody kind of launch their stuff. And like, Elliot, you've got your own Facebook page and following. There's a lot of people that when I talk about our podcast, they say, oh yeah, I like the Oracle. There's a certain group of people out there that like to listen to your show. So that's
you have
fantastic.
Groupies, Elliot.
It's the damn hat. I mean, you look like, yeah, you're the, what was the show we were talking about with Kevin Costner and the
Untouchables.
The Untouchables. That's right.
Elliot Ness. There you go.
Yes. All right. Well, let's get into this. I went on my 10-minute rant last night, just peeved with various local media, like you've said, Steve, off air, and national media, throwing out at the beginning of the week about Chubb. And yes, and you've written about it too in your Dog Pound South blogs about, there's $11.2 million that can be saved if the Browns
12.2.
12.2. Okay, if he would be released, it'll be a cold day in hell that I see that happening. I do think personally that, like your thought and probably a lot of our thoughts here, but I want to go around the room. I'm sure they're already talking to Chubb, or there's this idea of renegotiating or what they've done already with his money. He took a friendly deal the last time he went with the Browns. I don't know if it's going to be that friendly this time, and obviously it's going to be laced with incentives, and he's coming off a ginormous injury again. He's 28 years old. So, but I just can't, as a Browns fan, it's just impossible for me to believe the Browns are prepared to release the guy that is the heart and soul of the Browns, or has been for the last 6 seasons. So why don't your takes, Jarrell? Why don't we start with you? Where are you at with everything tonight with Chubb, and how do you see this all playing out in your mind?
Well, I don't think they have a choice. They have to keep him. They have to find a way to keep him, because let's just say in some crazy alternate universe that they cut him, I think an AFC North team would go out of their way to pay him what he wants to come there. That would be the ultimate pickup, regardless of him coming off of an injury. You're kind of giving them the revenge factor. So if you put the incentives in his contract, so I just feel like the Browns have to take care of him. He's done a lot for the franchise. He's a fan favorite. You can't let him walk out the door. So at this point, it's not even about the money. It's just about doing what's right for the team, for the city, for the fan base. So I don't see any way they let him walk or cut him.
Jarrell, I can appreciate to a degree some of these people that are out there writing about it being a possibility. I get that, but I just don't like all the extra stuff that comes up with that when you write stuff or you say stuff. Then the social media platforms start taking off, and then you get all this. It just gets ugly, and
we're in the speculation era for sure. We're in the clickbait era for sure, and and I also don't think that people pay attention to the Browns as far as the pulse as much as we do. So because wouldn't he still be considered in his prime, even coming off of this injury? Isn't he still like prime? This is still prime years for him.
I consider him to be a unique individual, just completely. And so while maybe 28 doesn't suggest his prime, I'd like to hear from the rest of you too on this. I don't think I don't put him in the same categories as other running backs, and that's where the arguments start happening amongst Browns fans, because there's a lot of people out there, and Elliot and Steve, and we've all written. I have people that we've written for before that talk about running backs just being running backs, but I don't see that with Nick, and I still I kind of agree that I don't think he's in his. I think he's still in his prime, just because of his. But he is coming off a major knee injury again. That was something that he damaged before. Sam, where are you at with Nick Chubb?
Yeah, I think he's going to stick around until his contract is up. I don't know if they're going to give him another contract, but you never know. The running back, I was about to say industry. It's not really an industry. The running back market has definitely taken a fall. It's definitely become where a lot of people are cheaping out on running backs. Why pay a running back when you can just draft one who's going to be just as good or possibly potentially even better, and you can draft him in the 5th round for $2 million a year, or you can pay a running back $6 million a year and get basically the same production. I think it's definitely going to be interesting to see what the Browns do in the future, but I think he's sticking around for now.
Okay. Elliot, are you there?
No, I think all you guys are crazy. This has to be a multi-year deal. And the question is, how do you arrive at a multi-year deal? There's no way that the Browns are going to have a 1-year deal with a $16 million cap hit. That's ridiculous. What they want to do is to have a multi-year deal with a cap hit that's no more than half of what it is now. They're not going to pay him $16 million for 1 season. That's crazy.
You're talking about extending him, Elliot. Wait, so you're talking about, okay.
The status quo is totally unacceptable. It's not what Nick Chubb wants, and it's not what the Cleveland Browns want. So why would that be what they end up with? That's not. It's very unlikely that they're going to maintain the status quo. Now, what would happen if they do decide to cut him? That doesn't mean that he's gone forever. What that means is that would be a step towards establishing. It's kind of like being a restricted free agent. Okay, Nick, why don't you go out and see what Tampa Bay is offering, and then we'll match that deal.
Okay.
And I think the chances of him leaving Cleveland, even if he gets cut, are very small. But I think he does. The agent probably does want to say, well, I'd like to see what the free market actually would pay for my client's services.
Yeah.
I think you do have to account for the fact that he has had a major knee surgery. I don't know any running back that has come back from 2 reconstructive knee surgeries on the same knee. So I think that his value has been degraded, but nobody knows how much. And the only way you can find out really is to get some other offers from some other teams. And so I think it would be a very logical thing for him to go out and say, well, all right, let me go see. I don't think I want to, poke around in Baltimore or Pittsburgh. I think that would be pretty tacky. But why don't I go see what Baker Mayfield's team will pay me? That would be a good thing to check out.
So you're suggesting, so Elliot, you're looking at this from a completely business side, and you think that from a business side,
business getting paid is business.
Sure.
So sure, yeah, but getting cut does not mean that he's exiled forever. This happens all the time.
Okay.
Where a player gets cut and then re-signed at a lower rate. But also, I have to think that any team that signs him will want to do a multi-year deal.
Okay.
Where they have low first year and a cap-friendly deal, and it'll be like 3 years. The Browns will offer him. They will offer him $15 million guaranteed. Okay. In other words, so that it matches the total on his first year, and then it'll be a total of 3 years, and probably something like, I don't know, $25-30 million total. Not all of it will be guaranteed. I think that we're looking for a 3-year deal, and I think that he probably does. I would say that the chances that he re-signs with Cleveland, nothing is 100%, but I think it's way over 90% that he re-signs with Cleveland. I think it's a multi-year deal. I think that the cap number will be way, way lower than what it is now. Okay. And it'll work out, guys. It'll work out.
Okay. So you think right now that they're going to cut Nick Chubb?
I didn't say that they would cut him, but I think that it's not unthinkable. I think if the two sides feel like that the market is not being that they're far from the free market value of Nick Chubb, they will the agent, Nick Chubb's agent, will find it necessary to go out and prove that his client is worth more than the Browns think. And if that's true, then the Browns, I think, will in fact respond by sweetening their offer.
Okay.
That's what I believe will happen.
Okay. Steve, you agree with that?
Well, let's start with he's on the books in 2024 for 12.2 million, non-guaranteed. None of it's guaranteed. So he and his agent have no bargaining power whatsoever. You have Mary Kay coming out and saying he's not going anywhere. The Browns have said he's not going anywhere. So I would think, and it's 2 surgeries on the same knee.
Yeah.
That he just had. Shelf life for a running back 3 to 5 years. Yeah. So his value is more important to the Cleveland Browns than it is to any other team. So I could see them redoing a contract in that special Andrew Berry way.
Yeah.
A couple of years with a couple voidable years, load him up on a new little upfront guaranteed money and spread it out. And, I think Nick Chubb is going to be back with the Browns. Now, is he going to be the same Nick Chubb? That's the big question. If you see them go out and sign like a Tony Pollard or somebody like that, he's going to be on the PUP list start the season. If you see them sign, a backup guy like an AJ Dillon, from Green Bay, then they think Nick Chubb's going to be ready. So I'm not really worried about it. I can see the point of cutting him and getting his value, but I don't think they're going to do that. Okay. I think they'll renegotiate a deal and give him a lot of incentives. And Nick
I
Chubb
think, and I agree with all of that. I think, Elliot, my concern with the whole issue of if you even say you're cutting Nick Chubb to this fan base, I mean, to begin with, now granted, Elliot, what you said, I also agree with it. Potentially, then they could do all these other things after the fact. But like, if you even consider saying that as a franchise, and like Steve says, he's more valuable to the Browns than most other teams. You've already lost a percentage of the fan base with Deshaun Watson coming onto this organization. If you cut Nick, or if you publicly say that he's been cut, you're going to lose. I can already tell you there are multiple people I've talked to who have said, like, forget the Browns, man. I'm done. Like, I granted these are older fans that
I'll come back when they re-sign Nick.
Well,
this is just a negotiating
ploy. Yes.
It ain't over until it's over, and it ain't over. This would be something that would be done at the request of Nick's side, that they want to go shop his talents elsewhere.
Yeah, they don't.
As a courtesy to the player, they would allow him to be released.
And that's where Elliot point is important. Nick Chubb doesn't have any bargaining power here. If they offer him a deal and he says, I'm not going to take it, then what Elliot just said is going to happen. This is $1 billion a year business. It's going to happen. And then he'll find his true value. It happens all the time. I mean, every year you got guys going out. Well, go ahead and go out and find your value.
Yeah.
And then they come back and say, oh, okay, I'll stay here. Because they like the familiar place. And especially if the team is going to be successful. And the Browns are going to be successful. Yeah. They will come back.
Nick Chubb right now is fourth in that rushing tree ladder. I bring this up because I feel, as a Browns fan, I'm watching this kid, like many of you, this is a symbolic sort of thing for me as watching Nick Chubb's career. He would have surpassed, Mike Pruitt and Leroy Kelly. He's 30 yards from passing Mike Pruitt to number 3, and he should pass Leroy Kelly if he can be somewhat healthy this year, who's sitting with 7,200 yards. So Nick's right now at about 65-11. So he'll surpass Leroy if he can maintain that, and then he would be number 2, only behind Jim Brown, which in my mind, as a longtime Browns fan, that says a lot about Nick Chubb and what he's meant to this organization and why a lot of people consider him the heart and soul. So I just want to throw that out again. I mean, a lot of people who follow Nick's career see that he's doing this, and he's done it at such a high clip. I mean, you look at the number of games that Nick has played in, 77 games. You look at Mike Pruitt and Leroy Kelly, they played in 124, 136 games. Jim Brown, of course, is sitting there at 118 games, and he surpassed 12,312 yards. So
yeah, a lot of those seasons were 12 and 14 game seasons.
Yes. So. I mean, it's just remarkable. Anyway, okay, so let's take a quick break here on the Fanatical Elfz Network. We'll be right back, everybody. All right, we are back here on the Fanatical Elfz, and we've been talking about Nick Chubb and the chatter of cutting, releasing, keeping him, renegotiating, all that fun stuff. So let's talk about another topic here. It was getting a lot more play earlier in the week. It's kind of calmed down a little bit, but I thought our conversation last week was important in terms of time frame, and I'd like to kind of get your takes on this again with this talk of building a new stadium or renovating the old one. I guess, what do you think is going to happen? And this time frame suggests that, I mean, we got to get something done here sooner than later, because the Browns run out in 2028 with their current contract with the other stadium. So where are we at, Steve? Let's start with you first.
Well, first of all, yeah, they have to get shovels in the ground by 2025 to get this started.
Soon. Yeah.
I have heard that the Haslam Group made 3 offers to the city of Cleveland. One was very, very nice offer. And the key word in what I heard was for a year-round facility for the lakefront.
Okay.
So when the Haslam Group felt that the city was kind of dragging their feet and put them on the back burner, so they go out and they buy this land. And that's where that stands. The Haslam's Group knows they've got to have a new facility. So if the city of Cleveland will cooperate a little bit, it'll be downtown on the lakefront. Haslam Group would love to develop that lakefront property. They would love to do that. But as a backup plan, they bought this property. So what is it?
It was interesting. Listen. Yeah.
So and the city of Brook Park would love to have a stadium out there. They see money making because the development around that stadium is going to be substantial. But they also know they don't want to be used by the Haslams or the city of Cleveland. So they're kind of sitting looking at this kind of going, well, we're going to wait and see what happens. So that's where it stands right now.
Jarrell, where are you at with all this? Would you like for them to stay downtown? And
I'd like to see them downtown. I went to the game when they played the Titans week 3, and it was just very convenient, park right there. You kick it in the Muni lot, and then you just walk over. So I'd like to see that. It's probably going to be inevitable that it's a dome. I know we talked about it last week, but it's I just feel like the NFL is just trending that way, and there's just more money, like you say, the year-round piece where when the football games aren't being played, you get the concerts and the Final Fours and all of that stuff. So I would like to see it downtown.
It was listening to Noah Olson, our new contributor too, who does the East Bank Sports Show with his friend Matt. They were talking about some of the like you just said, Jarrell, too, the comforts of having the stadium, having been there forever. A lot of people now, like Noah, live on the East Bank of the flats now, and that whole area has developed over the years. And just the whole experience of a Sunday in downtown Cleveland, if that were to leave and go to Brook Park, let's say, that would be such a different experience for so many fans who, since I can even remember as a kid in the 1970s, getting on the train and going down the Terminal Tower and making that walk down, East 9th or 3rd Street. I mean, those are memories that have you all been through Terminal Tower? I mean, I know probably Steve, you have. Jarrell, you've probably no. Okay. It's just such a significant building in Cleveland, and it's been the heart and soul of really of the whole community. And it's a beautifully built, when you're in there, it's very, marble, and it's just a very cool experience. Go back in the day. So
what's the old joke? Cleveland, the only city to have a lake that's eerie and a tower that's terminal.
I never heard that one.
No, you haven't.
No. Hey, Sam, I hope you didn't fall asleep over there.
No. I'm paying attention.
I know. No, I'm kidding. What do you think's going to happen? I mean, you live down there in Dallas. You got this magnificent, Jerry's World. What do you think's going to happen here in Cleveland?
I think they're going to build a dome, but I don't think they should build a dome. I think personally they have a rare home field advantage chance, because I think I've said it like 4 times. They have home field advantage from certain teams. So if like Dallas comes during a cold day, or if Miami played in the Chiefs and they didn't even want to be there. It was so
cold.
What
about the New Orleans Saints though? Let's talk about those.
They played
Saints.
in the dome too.
I know, but they came into Cleveland
a year ago.
That's what I remember about the Saints. They've come to Cleveland before, and they've beaten us before in years past. I can recall another game that wasn't too long ago that they came in. I think it was a season opening loss the Browns had in one of those many years. Do you remember what I'm talking about? There was a game, maybe it wasn't the first game, maybe it was the second or game of the season, but it was early. It was in the summer, September. Anyway,
I've only been to 2 Saints games.
Bitter cold
both
game
in New Orleans.
that they came. My friend wasn't able to fly in, and so he let me use his luxury box.
Oh, did you go to the game last year? That one, yeah.
Yeah, it was 2022. And it was bitter cold, and the Saints kicked our butts.
They did. I know.
But yeah, so
what do you think?
but it generally is a home field advantage. But in that case, for some reason, New Orleans was able to play better than the Browns, even though they're a warm weather dome team.
So where do you fall now with the dome? Do you want it? Do you not want it? Do you think it's going to be still downtown, or what do you think, Elliot? No,
I think a dome is. If you're going to build a new stadium, it's going to have to be a dome, because that's where the money is. That's where the year-round utilization. You can't have a stadium that you spend millions and millions of dollars on, and you don't have any place for Taylor Swift to play. That doesn't make any sense.
I'm in withdrawal, by the way. I've been in withdrawal. It's been tough.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be a dome. You're going to have lots of rock performances and stuff like that. I mean, it's kind of insane that you have a place that's right next to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You don't have any place to play a rock concert in.
Oh,
that's nuts. So, but I think the Haslams are absolutely brilliant to buy this land in Brook Park. The Cleveland politicians. This is a lot like the situation in 1994 that Art Modell faced. Except Art Modell, being the small man that he was, he said, well, I'll show them. I'm going to move the team to Baltimore, because he didn't know how to negotiate with the city politicians. The Haslams know how to negotiate. They say, well, City of Cleveland, I'll show you. You want to, try to push us around? We can play that game. We're going to go buy some land in Brook Park. Now, why don't you learn some manners when you talk to us? I just thought it was great. I thought, oh, man, Dee and Jimmy, you were awesome. This is just exactly the right move that you need to do to get something done. It'll get done. I don't know whether it'll be Brook Park or whether it'll be Cleveland.
Yeah.
But I do know that competition gets things done, and Cleveland now has competition, and it's damn good competition.
Yeah.
I kind of like the Brook Park answer. To me, makes sense. Frankly, I didn't think that putting the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame up at the lakefront was such a smart idea in the first place. Move the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to Brook Park also. What the heck? Let's go 2 for 2.
Wow. Elliot.
Hey, by the way, the Browns sound like they're heading to Brazil. Maybe we've talked about, maybe touched on it last week.
I don't want them to move to Brazil, but
yeah.
I'm not really in favor of playing games overseas because I think that the intent of that is, in fact, to steal NFL teams and move them to foreign countries. I don't like it, not one little tiny bit.
No. How about that AT&T outage today, Elliot? Do you have AT&T services? But for like an hour or 2 hours, it was like really stressful for me and my family with this.
Try 12
AT&T.
hours.
Yeah, was it
in
12
some
hours?
parts. Yeah. That's why I don't have AT&T.
Hey,
but anyway, getting back to the
yeah,
stadium
Steve.
thing, if it does go downtown, prepare yourselves for the building boom. Nashville is still going on. It's been going on for, I don't know, what do you think, 8 years now? They keep joking that the state bird is a construction crane. And there are buildings going up everywhere. The one thing Cleveland will have to have if they get a downtown dome stadium is more hotel occupancy.
Yeah.
That's the one thing.
I don't know how they do it. I got to tell you,
has.
Here in Columbus too, Elliot, you've probably been through here a time or two. Columbus is just growing like leaps and bounds. We have all this construction going on, all these new Intel plants and everything going out here on the east side where I live, and it's really remarkable. Just and we're seeing growth, hotels going up and apartment complexes, and I'm like, where are all these people coming from? I mean, it's just tons and tons of development right now. It's great if you live in this part of the state of Ohio. Not every part of Ohio is seeing this kind of growth.
It's not enough. It's not enough.
Yeah.
Nashville really scares me because I think that there's a very good chance that the Guardians might be the
No, we're not going to talk about that. No,
that's not going to happen.
No.
Nashville will have a Major League Baseball team.
Oh yeah,
they're not taking the Guardians. Not my Indians.
Former Oakland pitcher Dave Stewart is one of the major investors for the Nashville baseball organization, but it's not going to be the Guardians. They just signed the new stadium deal, so it's not.
Let's finish with this topic on tonight's show. They did mention, I don't know, I was reminiscing about the Indians. I was telling you guys off air before we started the show that I was asked. I work right for Northeast Ohio Sports Insiders, and one of the questions, Northeast, you want me to spell it? No. So this group, they were asking me, all of us, about our favorite past Cleveland Indians or Cleveland Guardians that were the best tandems at certain positions, like first base, second base, shortstop. The first one was first base and third base, and the next question was, who was your best second baseman or whatever. So I was throwing out old names like Dwayne Kuiper, and then Toby Hara, Mike Hargrove. And then we started talking about Jim Thome. And anyway, okay, so we were talking about all these things. It got me thinking. And then I saw this news for the Browns that they were talking about the old cardiac kids. We've talked about the cardiac kids recently this season because of all the close wins the Browns had. And so I think they're doing something special at the Hall of Fame in Canton coming up where they're going to recognize the old Browns, the original cardiac kids. And so I just wanted to know, go around the room and get some, I don't know, just some, past experiences, things with the Brownies, or even in the Indians, if you want to talk about the Indians, some of your fond memories. I know, Jarrell, you said you live in Nashville now, but you spent a good many years. We'll start with you, maybe, if, coming up here to Cleveland. And I know you and I have talked off air about some of these moments that you've had where you got to experience some things. What are some of those experiences that hold positive for you? With
my dad having played for the team, I was fortunate enough to come to a lot of the training camps and be like right next to the players. Like I remember Dennis Northcutt was like, I was talking to him, throwing the ball with him, and just getting that kind of unfettered access. And I knew even back then as a kid, it was pretty unique. So, and I still have a lot of that stuff, like some of the passes and things like that. So I think beyond any game, that those were probably special to me, because even some of his old teammates would, I would get to like meet them, like Hanford Dixon and guys like that, Dick Ambrose. So yeah.
Do you remember Felix Wright? Do you remember that name, Felix Wright? He used to play like on the defensive end kind of that same time period. I think
He's a safety. He follows me on Twitter.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He follows some of us, and he's commented a time or two on either some of our writings or stuff. So I've always thought that was kind of cool that some of these guys that have played, they still follow, the Browns, and I think that's
him and Metcalf follow me.
Oh, you get Eric Metcalf following you, dude. That's cool, Jarrell. That's really cool. I'd love to hear more stories in time. I know the fans would love to hear that. I think
me too.
I just eat that stuff up. I mean, Browns fans.
Same here.
Yeah. So you should just, we'll have to go, we'll have to figure some things out for training camp. Maybe you guys can come up sometime for a training camp and stuff. We can meet up there and do some Fanatical Elfz stuff there. So
sounds good to me.
Yeah. Sam, now you're not quite as old as all of us, or, your memories, you kind of started your fandom with the Brownies not too long ago, but so much about this team.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite sort of past moments? I mean, when you started following them, what really caught your attention?
I think I don't know. There's not a whole lot of moments because we keep losing in the past seasons. Other than this season, we kept losing. I feel like that Amari Cooper game was really cool. I don't know. I've only been a true fan for 3 years now, so there's not a whole lot of things that's gone on in these past 3 years. But
that catch that I saw some highlights. Somebody was talking about the catch that he made in the San Francisco 49ers game.
Yeah.
And
I watched it again today.
Yeah.
That was a really fun game. Watching them miss the field goal.
Well, out to that game, that memory, my wife and I went to that game together, and Laura and I, they were at the moment, they were losing. The Browns were losing. And then we made our way downstairs into the first level, and we were trying to watch the game from the tunnels. And we got down in the end zone where they finally hit the field goal to put them in the lead. And then we actually ended up starting to walk away, which is, I don't typically do that most games, but I think it was really cold and wet and stuff. And so we actually heard the roar of the crowd as we were walking up 3rd Street. That they had missed. So that was my memory of that game. But Sam, I cut you off.
No, I don't have much yet. I think in 10 years I might, but not really. I don't have a whole lot of really prominent memories yet.
Not yet, but when we win that Super Bowl, Sam,
I hope we can do it. 13 wins.
Elliot, now you have a little bit more experience following the Browns, a few more years than Sam.
I think the most memorable game for me was, I think it was 1972 when the Steelers were first getting good, and they were, the fan base in Pittsburgh was absolutely hysterical, and they invaded Cleveland Stadium, and it was a back and forth game. And I was in the bleachers. It wasn't called the Dog Pound at that time, but it was, very much Dog Pound. And I just, in high school, I was in high school, and it was just so fascinating to me that we had fights in the stands and stuff. And there's, guys that were, like cheerleading for the Steelers, and all this kind of stuff. And then some of the Browns fans, I remember one guy in particular grabbed a milk carton, threw it, and hit the Pittsburgh Steeler cheerleader guy in the head with it. And I thought, wow, that is really cool. I shouldn't say that on here, but this is a bad example, but bad sportsmanship. But it was at the time I enjoyed it. I confess I enjoyed it immensely at the time. Thought it was funny as hell.
That's great.
And the Browns pulled that game. They pulled it out. I think it was like 26-22. It was a last-minute field goal by Don Cockcroft. It was the best game that Mike Phipps, bless his heart, ever played as a Cleveland Brown. It was back and forth, and the Browns came from behind and won that game. It was just absolutely fantastic. It was cold, rainy, muddy.
Yeah, that
just
old
absolute
Municipal
perfection.
Stadium, boy. Yeah, they would play on that
Yes.
old, the baseball field, and you're right. It would be just like those are memories that you and all of us, that have watched the team since they were younger. I remember that, and then seeing these players, Ozzie Newsome and Brian Sipe and all these guys, running through the muck of what was the old Municipal Stadium field. Yeah, definitely some really cool things to remember there. Let's see, Steve, let's finish with you.
Oh, come on. Of course, my favorite Indian as a kid was Rocky Calavito.
Oh,
Who
yes.
didn't like Rocky Calavito?
Yes.
I mean, come on, The Rock. Heartbroken when they traded him to Detroit. And Mike Phipps. They traded Paul Warfield to get Mike Phipps. Oh, come on, that's ridiculous. Oh, my early childhood memory, and my dad worked for an accounting firm downtown, so we always had tickets. So early in the season, before it got cold, he'd take my brother and I down to watch the Browns play. So I actually got to see Jim Brown play live, and that just sealed it for me. I'm a Browns fan no matter what. From then on out, thick and thin, 1-31. I'm a Browns fan.
Yeah.
So as for my best memory, New Orleans, 1999. Timmy Couch, Hail Mary. Mike Ditka sprawled out onto the field. Stadium staff heckling us right before that pass, and then they all disappeared. That just kind of stuck in my brain because it was funny. I mean, they come up and laugh at us, and it was like what 4
you
or
were
5
there
left in the game. Yeah,
you were there
in New Orleans. Yeah, it was a Browns backer weekend. And we stayed in the same hotel that the players did, so I got to see a lot of them, got a lot of autographs, and it just that last
Very
pass.
cool.
We were way up in the nosebleed section, and you could see the ball like that. And then when Kevin Johnson just jumped and caught it, we went crazy. And the
rest is
those
history.
type of things build a fan base.
They do,
especially when you have a ton of Browns backers sitting around you. I mean, I had the president from the London Backers sitting next to me, and I'd teach him how to high five because he kept moving his hand. Everybody go up to high five, and he'd put it like here. And I had, don't do that.
Yeah.
And every time the Browns made a great play, he'd go, "Good show."
A good show. Good show. The more recent memories, and I give credit to Baker Mayfield again, but that 2018 game when they finally won and they beat the Jets, and I was in the stands at the stadium, and it's still a memory that will last with me forever because the way that he came in and that game just turned on a dime when Mayfield started throwing darts and pulling that game off and all the things that were happening and then winning it. And afterwards, the craziest part to me on the whole night was, like we talk about Browns backers groups. And at the time prior to that time, I had been the Browns backers president of the Wichita group there, the Oz chapter. And one of my, the people that were part of that club, I wasn't best friends with him, but I think he thought I was best friends with him. I'm leaving with a friend. No kidding. We're walking up East 9th to go back to one of the parking lots in the middle off of East 9th, like just random parking lot. We're in the garage area, and here comes this guy from Wichita, sees me. Of all the people with he and his wife, they were drunker than they couldn't even walk straight. And he saw me, and it was just one of those great moments where he's like, "Oh my God, Sushan, what are you doing here?" I'm like, "What are you doing here?" And so that was after the exhilarating win over the Jets. So that's something that, and best part is I was with this new friend that I was working with at a new school, and he thought after this whole exchange, he thought I was a superstar. Like, how does this guy know this guy from? So it was cool. So. A lot of memories. That's the best part, I think. And you guys might, I'm sure, agree. Like you've already shared, when you're a Browns fan, it's like you develop these bonds with this these other fans of the Browns who just, you might not know them personally, but when you get together at the stadium or in the Muni lot, it's just something it's just special. So, final takes, last words before we leave tonight. My nose is, I've been having a cold. I've been fighting it all night, but anybody have anything out there to share? Sam, final thoughts in Texas?
Oh yeah, sorry. I don't know. I think it'll be fun for the. I think I've said last week. I said last week. Or oh man, I can't. My head is not in the place. I said last week on my podcast that I think the Browns can realistically win 13 games this season, as long as Watson stays healthy. Chubb I feel like health is the only thing holding this Browns team back from winning 12 to 13 games. Because we won 11 games and we went through multiple quarterbacks. Our stud running back tore his knee in half in game 2. All of our wide receivers were trying to play, but some of them weren't as good as we wanted them to. Our offensive line kind of fell apart a little. Our defense was really good, but then fell apart a little. Like, I feel like this team, as long as it can stay healthy, can easily win 12 games, maybe even 13, depending on if they're able to, get some lucky wins or something. I think we could win the division. I think the 1 seed is possible if the Browns can just stay healthy, honestly.
Love that 1 seed. Jarrell, final takes tonight. Anything you'd like to get out there tonight before we leave?
Yeah. I think I think Chubb has earned the right to, be taken care of and treated fairly. I don't think that the running back position has been devalued by the running backs. I really believe that, I don't know if it's the coaches or the league or whatever, because I sat there and watched San Francisco have the number 1 running back in the league, and they didn't give them the ball in the Super Bowl. So how can you blame the running backs if you're calling pass plays when you should be trying to control the game? I think Chubb has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Get him signed, get it done.
It's interesting, Jarrell, too. Yeah, Steve, just a second, Steve, I'll let you, with what you just said, the whole thing with play calling, the conversation, it seemed like to me from a year ago when Nick Chubb was healthy, the criticism of Stefanski was always about play calling. And then Chubb goes out for the entire year. I didn't hear a lot about play calling, and we were very positive about Steady Eddie and his play calling. But I think it's interesting that you bring this up, because I think it's a real interesting topic to talk about. Steve, I cut you off.
No. I was just agreeing with Jarrell. He's making a great point. I mean, number 1 running back in the league, and they can't get him the ball in the second half. Thoughts? Combine starts next week. The illegal tampering period. Zadarius Smith's agents are going to meet the Browns in Indy to talk about a possible re-signing.
Okay.
We should start hearing about restructures, and there's like 7 guys on the team that have $3 million or more that are perfect restructuring candidates. You got like 4 of them who have deadlines of either March 15th or 16th, like Garrett, Antonio, and Teller all have March 16th deadlines for money to kick in, and Njoku's is on March 15th. So you're going to see some. You're going to hear. They don't announce restructures, but you're going to hear about restructures, and they'll get their cap space in order well before the league starts.
Elliot, final word.
Yeah, I think that the restructuring and extensions are very important. The Browns are $20 million over the cap. They are not the worst in the league. There are other teams that are much worse than the Browns, but it is a tight situation this season and needs to be handled very carefully. I don't look for them to make a lot of big moves. I do believe that Nick Chubb will be a Cleveland Brown next season with, let's say, 95% certainty, unless there's, for some reason, Nick Chubb just doesn't really like the Cleveland Browns. He has a problem with the coaches or something like that, which we don't know about. but I believe that he will wind up with the Cleveland Browns, whether or not the Browns cut him. I'm sure that they're going to tear up his existing contract and they're going to wind up with a 3-year deal, multi-year deal of some sort. I can't imagine that they're going to maintain the status quo with a gigantic salary cap hit and a 1-year deal. That's just not going to stand.
Yeah. Folks, appreciate you being here, guys. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Elliot. Thanks, Jarrell. And thank you, Sam. We are the Fanatical Elves. We'll be bringing you all sorts of shows in the coming weeks. NFL Combine, the draft, all of that. And hey, thanks, Steve Hemrick, who's watching. Appreciate you. Steve is getting was our winner of the ball cap from a couple weeks ago. And unfortunately, the ball cap, when it was mailed, was not mailed properly, and so I've mailed him a new elf hat earlier today. So thanks, Steve, again for being a supporter of the Fanatical Elves. Spread the word, spread the love. Tell all your fellow Browns fans to follow us here on the Fanatical Elves on Apple and Spotify. We really need you to listen to us on the audio downloads where we make the big bucks. Guys, have a great night. Go Browns.
Go Browns.
Browns. I don't have a shirt on, so I can't do my little thing. Brown shirt, not just like no shirt.
Bye. You're welcome, Steve.